Welcome back to India After Corona. In this episode, TNIE's editor G.S. Vasu speaks to Kerala's Finance Minister T.M. Thomas Isaac about what he believes needs to be done for India's economy to survive the COVID lockdown. Isaac, who is a well-respected economist and author, spoke to G.S. Vasu about why he believes that the centre needs to do a whole lot more, about how he's been trying to get an appointment with the finance minister, and how Kerala has been tiding over the crisis in truly remarkable fashion. More from Thomas Isaac.
Thank you, Dr. Thomas Isaac, for speaking to the New Indian Express. We have initiated conversations to primarily discuss the economic impact of COVID. By now, we have a fair idea of the kind of destruction caused by the outbreak of virus. What's the time frame you're looking at before you think the country can bounce back to normal?
I don't think there can be a bounce back. It's going to, this ill effects of it is going to definitely stretch through the year.
Okay.
I'll speak for Kerala. Now, this lockdown month, our GSDP growth would be 50 to 60% lower. Now, under partial lockdown conditions, in the coming months, it may climb to, say, about 40% improve. That's it. Because remittance income is going to sharply come down, as predicted by the World Bank and so on. They are expecting 23% reduction in the remittance flow to South Asia. Suppose we are going to factor in the remittance inflow also. We are assuming that within another 3 months, things are going to be back to normal. Even then, this would be the impact. It would be a slump. Now, there is a big question. There are a large number of small-scale industries, shops, etc. We have to close up because they have suffered heavy losses. And unless we give them special support to reopen, it will be worse than demonetization. Some of them are not going to come back to life. So that would mean it will be a long recession. It is not going to jumping back to normal.
Now, the Telangana Chief Minister, I'm sure you would have noticed, has pitched for quantitative easing to enable states to raise resources. Do you agree with his view?
Yes, all state ministers in the last meeting of the GST Council, the pre-budget discussion, they have demanded that fiscal deficit ceiling be increased to 4%. That is before COVID epidemic. Now everybody is demanding 5%. So we fully support that. Our demand has been raise the fiscal deficit ceiling to 5% and enable the states to directly borrow from the Reserve Bank, not from the banks, not from the markets. Because market has become very conservative. They don't want to lend. They want to hold on to money. So that's the first demand. Second would be our demand. The government of India should take the entire expenditure regarding return migrants, interstate migrants. What they have permitted is not insufficient. The reason being, interstate migration and international migration is a union list subject. Yes, we are holding, we are doing the thing. But this is entirely federal government's primary responsibility. Therefore, a scheme for rehabilitation of international migrants and interstate migrants has to be implemented by central government. Third, central government must give the GST compensation. In April, there is no GST. Therefore, entire money has to be compensated by the compensation cess fund. Now, there is no money in the cess fund. There will be no money in the cess fund to pay for such a large compensation. So, in that contingency, it was agreed upon the GST Council. The law was passed. The cess fund would borrow from the market and make the payment. And the cess, which is for 5 years, can be extended for another year or two till whatever money that has been extended is recouped. Such a simple thing. I don't know why this system is not dawning upon the central government.
In terms of direct monetary help to states, there is only that much that the centre could possibly do. Apart from the steps that you have already mentioned, what are the other fiscal reforms that you would suggest to help states tide over the crisis?
Right. See, now the central government, instead of providing more money to states, is forcing the state governments to cut the expenditure.
Okay.
This is the last thing you can think of in a slum. It is laughable macroeconomics. Yeah.
Can you please elaborate on that? Forcing states to cut expenditure in which sector?
Now you have a situation where supply chains are broken. That's fine. But there is also equally collapse in demand. Nobody has income. Therefore, nobody is spending. Even if your lockdown is lifted, demand is not going to pick up. More than that, it's a distress situation, not demand crisis. It's just distress. You don't have money, any money, or starving. In this situation, only agency that can intervene in the economy to revive demand is government.
Yes.
The banks, they're refusing to lend.
Correct.
Today there is a whole report regarding how banks don't want money, concessional money, they can lend to NBFCs. And no, there were no takers for the auction of, because everybody is afraid of a collapse. And they don't want to be caught in the middle. They want to keep as much liquid money as possible. This is what Keynes called extreme liquidity preference. You don't want to lose your money. Money is the first purpose, commercial purpose. So the government should, at this moment, dare to spend more. It doesn't matter the numbers of fiscal deficit and so on. You don't borrow from the market, because then you will be exhausting the money which will be available should be available for the private players also. You just monetize your debt. You borrow from the Reserve Bank and pump in money. That's, for example, what America is doing. They are pumping in new money.
Yes.
About 10% of the GDP as a stimulus package. The government of India should understand this is not the time for reforms and prudence, etc. You are facing a calamity, a collapse, and it will be a humanitarian crisis, COVID crisis. Now you have to have starvation crisis in India. But don't allow things to slip into that level.
But you mentioned states are being forced to cut expenditure by Delhi. I mean, I didn't get the point that you made. In what way are they
reason is, unlike central government, who can borrow from the Reserve Bank, I mean, that is just spending money, or they can just increase as much as they want, borrowing from the market, or sell some of their assets, and so on. States have no option. Their main revenue, GST, which is zero, and the lockdown conditions, there's no other revenue. So unlike center doesn't permit them to borrow more or make money available to them. They'll be forced to cut the expenditure. Now they're cutting the salaries of employees.
Yes.
But they are also, every state government is cutting development schemes, capital expenditure, so that they can fight on the crisis. This is crazy macroeconomics. That is what I call. Macroeconomics teaches you when demand collapses, you must stimulate demand. And instead, we are being prudent people. Oh, we have no revenue, therefore we don't spend. We will limit ourselves to the revenue to spend. Now, this is bad. It will create a financial fiasco.
There are some really scary projections that are being made on the kind of economic impact that COVID can unleash. And as you said, the center has already begun saving measures like putting a freeze on DA. States are paying only 50% of salaries and all that. Do you foresee a situation where the center may be compelled to look at it as some sort of a financial emergency?
See, that is a technical thing, financial emergency. But what they're doing is just not economics. Cutting salary in a slum. States, I can understand, because states have no option. They have no money, they can pay. But in the central government, they don't set this example. They cut the salary, the private sector cut the salary, everybody cut the salary, income for the people as a whole goes down. They will buy less and you will have a recession, big recession. You won't be able to get out of this. Therefore, if financial emergency is for doing this kind of actions, taking these kind of actions, I can only pity the future of economic India. There is going to be major social unrest and crisis. Now, just take when the lockdown came, how many tens of thousands of migrant laborers just took to march, the foot to their villages, whatever be your lockdown rules. Now, we are going to kindle unrest, social unrest of this kind. So, everybody thinks of financial emergency, so the government can do freely cut wages and salaries and so keep people down. And that's bad. Politically unacceptable, socially unacceptable. Even without declaring emergency, there are so many options you can do. And look, all the states in India are demanding increase in the fiscal deficit. See, all the states in India are demanding payment of GST compensation. There is something called national consensus. This is it. The central government should accept that rather than thinking of this kind of financial emergency and so on.
Something similar to what has been done in regard to GST, where, you have a GST council where all of you discuss what needs to be done and make amendments that are required to be done. Do you feel the center should also set up a similar panel comprising some finance ministers to prepare a roadmap on how the country should navigate through this economic crisis?
You see, we didn't need to put up a new council. I'm very wary of all councils to the experience of GST council because I don't know how it is going to be used and what purpose these councils are going to be used. Definitely consultation, important and relevant. The Prime Minister is consulting chief ministers. Now, third consultation is there on day after tomorrow. Therefore, similarly, Finance Minister should have a consultation regular basis with the Finance Ministers. What is the financial situation? In fact, when we met last time in GST Council, it was agreed that there would be a special meeting of the GST Council to discuss about the compensation payment.
Okay.
But now, soon after the Parliament session ended over 1.5 months back, even if you don't have a physical meeting, I do not understand. What prevents even a video conference?
Am I to understand, sir, that the finance minister has not consulted any of you so far in the post the economic crisis that has come about?
No. The only consultation the general economic situation has in the pre-budget meeting. Now that budget has become irrelevant.
That was much before COVID, right?
That's the last consultation we had. So it is most urgent that serious discussion, consultation is immediately arranged. There is at least on some things we understand and we have a consensus.
Have you, at least some of the finance ministers, demanded such a consultative meeting on a priority basis? Have you returned to Delhi in that regard?
Yes, I have written 3 letters. Yeah. Most of the ministers should have done that.
But so far there is no response.
Absolutely no. Normally, whenever you send a letter, you receive back some polite comment.
Some are of the view that post-COVID, businesses will start looking at moving out of China, and India could be one of the attractive destinations. One, do you concur with that view? And if you agree with that view, what kind of reforms we need to bring in to make this really happen?
Yes, there are possibilities like that because this primary preference would be move to Southeast Asia, Vietnam, and so on.
Okay.
But then India also. So then we have to be prepared. We have to welcome them. We have to start discussing about what should be done there. I don't think putting restrictions on foreign direct investment by China is a good signal for that. I'm before FDI in sectors where they provide new technology and so on directly.
Okay.
But that be so. But it's very strange that people who want to invite or attract FDI in India, take advantage of the new situation, should immediately also put restrictions on FDI from China.
Is there any plan, sir, for finance ministers of states to meet irrespective of whether you have an invitation from Delhi or not? The state finance ministers could possibly meet and put up a joint proposal before the center. Have you been in touch with your counterparts in other states?
Yeah. I mean, I've been trying our level best to see for a discussion of that kind. Now, even the state, despite all this, they refuse to address it as a fundamental question of fundamental relation, fiscal relation of center and state in India, a question of fiscal federalism in India. And therefore, our attempts has not been very successful. Political considerations have come in the way. Kerala has organized 4 such major discussions, various parts of India, and we are having a webinar on 27th and 28th. We have invited all finance ministers and around 120 top academics in India.
Okay.
It's going to be an intense deliberation from morning to evening. I don't know how many finance ministers are going to accept the invitation, and nobody from BJP side has responded. That is understandable. Okay. But I see some of the others also not very interested in them. And this is precisely the situation central government likes. And precisely the reason that despite all the rationale being on the side of the state regarding GST compensation or against the fiscal ceiling, that central government is able to stonewall it. Therefore, we will continue with the efforts to bring together as many states as possible and public academic opinion in India in favor of a restructuring of the center-state financial relations.
Indications are that center will sooner than later come out with a fiscal stroke stimulus package. Can you quickly tell me three most important measures that Delhi needs to take?
One, large-scale income transfer to the people. Say 7,500 immediately to all households. Advance payments of NREG workers half the annual earning and increasing the old age pension.
Okay.
Very substantial income transfer to the people. That's my first. Second is, I don't need to argue for corporates. Having been given so much concession even without them asking, like the corporate tax concession. All that I demand is the farmers and MSME sector. Now, if you want them to start working again, then one should extend the moratorium till the end of the year with no interest. That should be met from Government of India. That interest will come to, say, something like 1 lakh crores of rupees. Yeah, if you can just give away 1.75 lakh crores of rupees to the corporates in India, the farmers and small scale industries, I think justly can demand it. And then along with it, the working capital existing loans must be restructured, traditional portion be made. Therefore, a package for the MSME sector.
Okay.
Third will be a package for the states.
Okay.
Demands of which I have already said.
Yeah.
And these are the three things Government of India is not serious about. And they should revise the stand.